So we're Team Trendalytics, and we'd like to introduce you to Katie. Now, she may resemble Posh Spice, but actually, she's a buyer at Neiman's. And this is her worst nightmare, selling clothes at a loss because she couldn't predict what consumers wanted. Merchandisers, creative marketing, sales and buy teams at companies we all know like Gap, Coach, and Neiman Marcus make multi-million-dollar decisions based on intuition. Today, that's changing. With Trendalytics, Katie sees what brands and products are resonating with consumers across the social web and online search. Here she sees the top fall 2013 images that are being shared across Facebook, Pinterest, and on blog posts. Now this is awesome because she just got back from the shows and she needs to decide what merchandise she's going to invest in that's going to hit the rack 6 months from now, and also what products she wants to promote in her $5 million fall ad campaign. So she goes to the top and she sees all of this data ranked by brand. She's surprised to see Philip Lim, an up-and-comer, and of course Oscar de la Renta, which is one of her favorites, so she clicks through. Here she sees the collection and she decides to sort by trend score, which is kind of like clout for images. She notices that lace dresses are really popular, and she decides she wants to drill down a little bit more into this. Now, Katie's problem is that she actually invested into lace the last couple of seasons, but it didn't do so well. But she consistently overinvests in trends too early and misses them when they peak. Here she can see all the trends that are resonating with consumers, and she can even click on lace dresses to see the type of content that people are engaging with most to get a better sense of the silhouettes and all other details. She also decides to drill down a little bit deeper to see the seasonality and the life cycle of certain trends. So here she looks over time based on what people are searching for on Google and Bing, and actually what people are talking about across the social web, that things are up and to the right. She also goes down to see that regionally it's really popular in the US and also the UK, which are core markets for her. So now she's feeling good. She's going to invest in the lace trend. She knows which looks she wants to use in her ad campaigns based on what had the highest scores. And now she's like kind of curious. She's thinking, let's look up prom dresses. It's March now, and prom is always a huge buy for them, and so she just wants to drill down a little bit more. She's surprised to see that actually people are searching for prom dresses and talking about prom dresses in January. Now she's thinking, great. And she looks over time and she sees that year over year over year that people are looking for prom dresses in January. Now it kind of makes sense if you think about it. So she's going to use this for her competitive advantage and actually market to consumers for products they're looking for when they're looking for them. This can drive decisions in in-store visual merchandising, her campaigns, and she can come up with some cool social media and PR campaigns next year. Now, one of her biggest frustrations is actually getting buy-in on up-and-coming brands, especially and figuring out how much to allocate, especially when there's no history. She remembered that Philip Lim was actually really highly ranked, even though he hasn't been around that long, so she decides to drill down a little bit further. Here she can see his social presence isn't so interesting. He has about 24,000 fans, but she drills down and actually can look at post-level engagement and sees that actually the people who are engaging with his content, indexed by the fan base, is well above average for his peer set. So she decides to drill down a little bit further. She then sees the top fall looks that are being shared across the web for Philip Lim's fall season, and she also sees the post-level engagement and fan growth, which is up and to the right. She can also look at the actual content and types of products that are getting the highest engagement with their fan base, which is actually younger consumers she wants to bring into her store. So now Katie's feeling pretty good. With Trendalytics, she's now making data-driven decisions that it's empowering her team to not only back their own intuition, but to make sure that they don't have huge revenue opportunity misses. In the $350 billion apparel and accessories market, over 50% of merchandise is sold at a discount. Margins are razor thin, and the difference between companies that are growing at double digits and going out of business all comes down to having the products that consumers want. Today, consumers are telling us what they want, and it's criminal not to use that data. We're the team that's solving Katie's problems, which is based on real experiences with several buyers and retailers that we've spoken with and who are interested in using our product. If you'd like to learn more, please contact us at founders@trendalytics.co, especially if you're a visual designer that loves data visualization and wants to reimagine the dashboard. This is just the beginning.
Awesome, awesome, very well done. Questions from our judges?
Two pieces of feedback. One, I'm a little shocked that there isn't more of a design sense put into this product, given the retailer that you're aiming it at, which is somebody who's buying a $1,000 prom dress.
That's why they need a designer.
Well, I think there can be a lot. For instance, when you mouse over, why can't you make the picture bigger so you can actually see?
Hey, Greg,
the dress?
he's not an entrepreneur. He doesn't understand that these things just don't manifest immediately when you want them.
He just grabs one at Rackspace.
Yes.
But number two, we're living in a world where we can have conversations with our customers before they get to the point where they're going to buy. Why couldn't that buyer pick out a few dresses and then put it to their Facebook page and see in real time whether the customers are really going to buy it from her? Are you thinking about that? Is there a piece that I missed there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's happening. That's kind of starting to happen a little bit, but we're bringing all those sources across the web. You know, like, for example, if you're only
I know, but that's
looking at
reactive. I'm talking about predictive, where you actually pick the things that you saw there. You did a great job. I want to pick those 5 dresses that I'm going to offer in my store, and I want to put them out to my list of teenagers that are about to go to the prom and test it and see if they're really going to buy that before I push buy and buy those dresses for my store.
Right. So one thing I kind of want to point out with, so the runway images are, you know, something that's interesting because it's actually used as inspiration and as indicators for what's going to be in style. But all the merchandise you saw today is actually being shared across the web today. That's for fall merchandise. Buyers and brands are meeting today on deciding how much they want to produce. So where we're focused is really pre-production, and the number of data points in fashion have exploded over the past year, as particularly with image data, and so that's where we see a real opportunity.
James?
And so we're not only looking at your consumers, but more broadly across several sources.
Yep.
Go ahead. So I have a couple questions. So. What evidence do you have that these fashion buyers actually want this and will transition to something like this? And I'm actually thinking about the parallel with ad buyers. And for the longest time, you know, they've just made decisions based on gut intuition. And it's taken decades, and it's still ongoing, to transition into much more analytical thinking. So what makes you confident that this will also occur in fashion?
So actually, we're designing the product with buyers at companies like Bloomingdale's, Saks, and whatnot. And so we already have people who are interested in piloting with us.
Okay.
Like both at companies that are wholesale brands like under 50 million to like publicly traded companies that are interested in using this corporation-wide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then what will it take to actually have like a real case study where you can say, as a result of using this product, they were actually able to make better decisions and thus avoid the huge markdowns and so on and so forth? Because I think, you know, lots of nice graphs and all this stuff, but the proof will be in the pudding when you actually have a case study of someone who used to make decisions with gut, now makes a decision with your tool, and thus is able to save X, Y, or Z.
Well, so let me give you a real example, and this is from a buyer at a publicly traded huge company. So one of, actually, the case studies we used all came from like real things, but like, so Philip Lim, for example, was a brand that they wanted for a while. He's been around for a while, but actually they finally made a buy. They totally underestimated demand. They were chasing inventory the entire time. If she had tools that could say that they were doing well, then she could have basically allocated more dollars to that. On the flip side, for Philip Lim, he can use that as a sales tool and to kind of, in negotiating and talking to buyers. One specific example is a contemporary brand called Halston. One season, their sales team actually printed out the number of tweets that they got and got orders from 0 to several millions from companies like Bloomingdale's and Bergdorf's, and they actually increased their dress business 300% that year.
So if this does work that well, why give it away? Why not automate an e-commerce site so that you have the best inventory out there and crush everyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's interesting, but I kind of want to solve a bigger problem. I mean, that's cool, but I'm sorry. So I think that's really cool, but I mean, I think there's a huge opportunity here. Like, part of our mission is to help creative businesses become sustainable, and, you know, I actually went to school to become a fashion designer, and so my life has been around how can we solve what's so messed up about this industry. And I think there's a huge opportunity for a lot of brands to be smarter about what they're doing. And if they can, you know, we're unlike other data companies. We're not like software's eating the world and data's going to make decisions, but these tools are going to empower people to make better decisions, that they can de-risk their business where they can and actually take risk in other creative areas that are going to make them different.
How much has Pinterest affected the fashion industry and driven, you know, a product like this? It seems like this is very Pinterest heavy, obviously with some Google Analytics and some Facebook Analytics. But is Pinterest the heart of this and the heart of the industry today?
Pinterest is definitely important. There's a lot of because it's image focused, and so, you know, the difference between this and, you know, maybe some general listening tools is the heavy focus on images. And just the number of data points for images have increased tremendously. But to answer your question, blog posts are really important. Over 15% of blogs, like fashion's the #1 category on Tumblr. It's 15% of all blogs, and so that's also a really important piece of it. But sorry, I'm kind of going too long. But Facebook is still a huge driver, like the #1 driver of traffic right now.
Let's hear it for Trendalytics. Well done.